Okay, right here? We good on the street?
Welcome to the offline footage for Occupy Dallas TV.
Right here on the
And we're at an impromptu protest and rally against police brutality.
Okay, John Fullerwine? Okay.
There's Reverend Hood, and they're getting ready to start here in a minute.
Okay. Is it on? Okay. Hello? Help me out with this now. Hello? Okay, everybody. Everybody come on in so we can get instructions about what we're about to do. Because the number one thing is we want to make sure that everybody that came out gets the opportunity. Well, everybody goes back home. Okay? That's the most serious point. That everybody goes back home. We know that we can't be out in the street, right? So we know we have to be, like right here on the side of the building, right here. Nobody in the street. Anybody that's got anything that you're not supposed to have, guess what? We ain't got no bail money to get you out. So, if you got it, if you're toting any type of heat, anything that you ain't supposed to be having, right about now, do something with it. Okay? Because you see who we got. We got company. They're all lined up behind the building over here. They were sitting over here in the parking lot. So they're all behind the building. So you know we're going to have a severe police presence this evening. We got more people coming. So I'm glad everybody came out. We know what this issue is about. This is much different than when we have the Black Lives Matter. And no, it's different for me. This is the first time that I've had to come to where one of our white brothers has been killed by police terrorism. And that's crazy. Anytime that we have an individual killed by police terrorism, it's bad. But when you have somebody that comes to the police department asking for help and they are killed, there's something wrong with that picture. Regardless of what this man's past life was, whatever he did not deserve to die with a knee on his throat. He did not deserve to die like that. All he was doing was going to a place that he thought was safe for him, never knowing that this would be the place that he would die. So we're standing here again, once again, in solidarity for someone who has died upon the police brutality. And for anybody that says that black lives don't matter, that we got a white life. We got a brother that, we have somebody that died upon those same circumstances. It's me, death is death. So now we must really understand that we have to galvanize. We have to say, let's make some things happen. You know? So we have to make some things happen. So who has that paper with the gentleman's name on it? Yeah, I want to read the incident that happened. We're going to get back to, we're going to open up the program, but I just want to read this. I just want to read this. On August the 1st, around 10 a.m., Joseph Hutchinson parked his car on the curb at the Sterritt Justice Center in Dallas County and hysterically ran inside. Upon entering, Hutchins screamed, "Don't hurt me, I just need some help." Again, I'm going to read that again. Don't hurt me, I just need some help. The deputies tackled him. According to the Dallas Morning News, Hutchins screamed that he couldn't breathe. How many times have we heard people say, "I cannot breathe"?
Too many.
Too many. I just need some help. That's the most simplest and plainest thing it is. I just need some help. I cannot breathe. Again, let you know, I am in distress. Help me. And the a witness described one deputy restraining Hutchinson with a knee on his back, and another deputy restraining him with a knee on his throat. Do you understand that? A knee on this man's throat. Hutchinson's face turned from white to blue. Around 11:31 a.m., Joseph Hutchins was pronounced dead. He went in at 10 a.m. At 11:31, he was what? Dead. How long is that? An hour. An hour. Within an hour, this man was dead. To add to injury, authorities responded to public concern about the tragedy by releasing Hutchinson's criminal background and speculated they could see narcotics in his truck. Regardless of what he had in his truck, that was no reason to take his life whatsoever. He came to a place thinking that he could get some help, feeling safe at the police station, thinking that somebody could help him, and he died. The same hands that's supposed to help him is the same hands that killed him. This man only lived for an hour, had a knee in his back and in his throat. And now these two police officers are sitting on death duty while Mr. Hutchinson is probably still at the board. But yet they dug up his criminal background from when he was 17 years old. The most pitiful thing, you're going to kill this man twice. First you kill his body physically, then you kill his character to make him a person that nobody's supposed to stand here for and say anything about. But guess what? That's not going to happen. Because if it's just a few of us, we're still standing with our brother, Mr. Joseph. I don't know what he did in his past. I can't call it. But I can tell you this. The day Christ went up on his cross, when you look to his left and you look to his right, what did he have? He had the criminals. He had those right there next to him who had a criminal past, who had done a whole lot of bad things. But Christ didn't see it that way. All he saw was somebody who was in the same situation like him. And that's what I say about Mr. Hutchins. They crucified him in the flesh, and they want to crucify him again with his criminality. But again, like I say, there's a God that looks high, that rolls high, and looks low. And so before you put yourself above Mr. Hutchinson, you got to remember, you got to account for this Dallas Police Department. You got to account for this. This ain't no hearsay, this ain't no maybe. There's witnesses, and there's a witness that looked down on this. Mr. Hutchinson was somebody's son again. Probably somebody's father, but he was definitely somebody's child. And he was not worthy, he didn't deserve to die like that. He wasn't no dirt. He was a man who had made some mistakes like many of us had. And he did not deserve to die on the ground with a knee in his throat and a knee in his back, on the dirty jailhouse floor. All he wanted was some what? Some help. And I've seen pitiful cases of police brutality. But this is the saddest one. Usually we're running from the police. But my Lord, this man was running to the police. Usually when we're running from the police, they shoot us in the back. Say stop. Like they did Mr. Walter Scott down in South Carolina. Shot him 8 times. Then dropped the taser or the gun by his body. But the camera was there. But there was no camera. Maybe there was a camera there, but there's 2 witnesses that saw this. For Mr. Hutchins' life. Again, we usually are running from the police. We get shot. This gentleman was running to the police. And he lost his life. So, before we get started, I'm just asking about you about again for about 5 minutes. Whether you're Christian, Jew, whatever. Just about your head. The Lord, we come right now, we're asking you to look down on us as we stand in solidarity for this gentleman. We don't know what his life is like. We don't know, Lord. We just know that he came to somebody for help. And he was denied that. You always say, don't deny my children. Don't hurt my children. And this house of death denied this young man. All he was asking for was help. He was in distress, Lord. And he was denied. It's like when your mother and your father, Heavenly Father, were asking for a place so you could be birthed into this world. They were denied. He did not find sanctuary and help here, Father. But maybe he can find it up there with you. Maybe he can find rest with you. We know down here we got work to do. We got work to do. Some of us get tired. Some of us want to just stop. But apparently, we are anointed and we have to keep on doing what we're doing. Because every time we lay down and we think we're going to get some rest, death comes back at our door. And we have to be here one more time again, God, to stand in a space in solidarity for somebody who's no longer here, who has died by police brutality, who has died in the most vicious way. His very essence was taken from his body. All his hands were that I cannot be here.
Right here.
And he was denied his hand.
Daddy's busy.
Heavenly Father, give us rest and let him know that somebody down here loves him. Somebody cared for him. And we stand strong for him today. And we lift up his name to those touches. And we say, Father, just give us the strength to stand for this brother. And let us be the warriors that you want us to be. Let your family say amen.
Amen.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Fullerwald.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming out. I see a lot of people I know and a few that I don't know, and it's always good to see someone I don't know. So if you look around and see someone you don't know at a rally, that's a good thing. I want to say that this house of death here has a history of mistreatment of inmates, abuse of inmates. For instance, for years 2006 to 2011, this jail was under an agreed order with the Department of Justice because the health care they were providing the inmates, particularly mental health care, was so bad. Sheriff Valdez was elected in 2004, and for 8 straight inspections, this jail failed from the state jail and prison board. Now this is Texas, y'all. Is that board really looking out for the prisoner anyway? Now to fail that test, you got to basically have yourself a hellhole. And that's what this jail has been. And they were forced by the state and forced by the feds to make an investment to get up to the minimum standards, and we're glad they made that investment. In this case, see this sign right here? That ought to be the sign on the door of this jail. Do not ask for help or mercy. You know, sometimes in a police brutality case, we say, well, we need a new policy. Well, what kind of policy are you going to tell these deputies? When an unarmed, agitated man comes in and asks for help, don't put your knee on his throat till he dies. It's a culture of death. And you can say the police of this country are on edge because we've all got cell phones and they're watching them. Well, that's probably good. That's probably a good thing. But I bet we could walk in this jail right now in the lobby. There's a camera spanning the whole thing. So we have a witness on this, and I dare say there's a tape on it as well. Usually a medical examiner can turn around a report within a couple weeks. The latest report on this particular killing says that they're going to need maybe 3 months before they have an examiner's toxicology report. You know, over in Parkland every day they do a tox report on you if you come in and you're loaded. It takes a day and a half. It doesn't take 3 months to find out how this man died. But what we will learn is every single fact of his medical history. His heart, he had an arrhythmia. He had high blood pressure. he was on cocaine. No wonder he died. And all other kinds of lies. Because we know right now that Joseph Hutchison would be alive if he hadn't gone into this house of death and asked for help.
That's right.
Now, 87 people have died in custody of Dallas County since 2005. Somebody pull out their phone and tell me if I'm wrong, but that's a death in custody approximately every 6 weeks for the past 10 years. So it's not an overstatement to call it a house of death. And it's not an overstatement to say that we'll be lucky and it'll be a cold day in the hell of Dallas if we get an indictment on those two killers. Do you know in 40 years, with hundreds of Dallas police officers gunning down poor people, basically poor black men, in hundreds of deaths over the past 40 years, we have not one indictment? We haven't had a trial in a fatal police shooting here in 40 years. So it's no overstatement to call this a house of death. And it's no overstatement to look at this country right now, where we've had 550 people shot to death this year across this country by police. You know, there's only about 10,000 homicides a year altogether. So pull out your phone and do that math. Roughly 6, 7, 8% of the killings in this country are done by police officers. Homicide rates in the U.S. are going down across the board, except for one category, officer-involved homicides. They're going up. A man can walk in here asking for help, unarmed, agitated, and end up dead at the hands of two deputies. A mentally ill guy's mother, last summer 2014, called two officers to help her get her son to Parkland. Her son's name was Jason Harrison. Within 10 seconds of his appearance on the porch holding the screwdriver, this man was shot 5 times, twice in the back. We don't have to have a manhunt for the killers. We know who they are. They still work for the Dallas Police Department. They're on patrol today with their weapons in your city. The district attorney of Dallas County saw fit to no-bill them, which means we don't even get a trial. This was the first police murder caught on a police body cam. A body cam's good after the fact. It doesn't seem to stop a death, but it helps investigate after the fact. But across this country, you rarely get an indictment when an officer of the law, be they a deputy, a cop, a state trooper, or God forbid, just a vigilante in Florida, decides they're going to kill someone or beat someone up or beat them to death. You rarely get an indictment. And if you get an indictment, you rarely get a conviction. Now this is one thing, one policy change that might help. Not trying to teach these deputies to not kill an unarmed man who asks for help by putting your knee on his throat till he collapses and dies of asphyxiation. That might not work here. You know, some people are visual learners, some oral learners, but sometimes I think the cops are anal learners. You have to kick them in the ass before they even hear you. But a policy change that might help would be to have federal prosecutors in deaths by police. You know what I mean? Just like when we tried to get the Voting Rights Act, the local authorities abused the human rights of the people, and we had a federal response. And then this is the same thing. We could have the U.S. attorney in each district appoint a special prosecutor. There's way too many deaths at the hands of police, but there's not that many that we couldn't have an independent federal prosecutor take these cases. And that's one thing we can do, because I'll tell you, Susan Hawk's not going to indict anybody.
No, sir.
If she didn't indict John Rogers and Andrew Hutchins, the guys that killed Jason Harrison, she's not going to indict anybody.
No, sir.
Anyway, the few, the proud, the active, thank you so much for coming. How many people does it take to make change in this country? How many? 1, 2, 3. It takes you and your friends and me and my friends and all the other people that we know. But we're here today, and there'll be more tomorrow. Because every time we gather, we have with us the spirit of the ancestors that were activists, And we have the spirit of the people that got killed, that hover above the earth and wait for us to bring them justice. Keep the faith, y'all. Thank you.
Okay, guys, I never do this, so obviously, okay, see, obvious, right? Okay, so who do we call when we do need help? Because it's obvious we can't call the police because they're gonna come to our house and shoot us. We can't be driving down the road and experience a medical emergency and have to pull over to the side of the road and into the first building that you see to seek help, and it just so happens to be the building standing behind me. You still die. So we really need to reform humanity as a whole. We need to really look into people's hearts and start humanizing everyone. Okay, there's a majority of black men being killed, yes, in Dallas, but it's not just black. It's black and white. We are at a point now where it's almost us versus them. They don't care about us. When they put that badge on, it is a brotherhood for each other. They don't care about us who pay them. More than likely what's going to happen in this case is our taxpaying money is going to go to the family in the civil suit. But yet nothing is going to happen to the two officers involved in his death. But we get to pay for their mistakes. Something has to change. Something has to give. We are literally at the brink of a civil war right now. You're watching it happen. And at some point, we're going to have to pick a side. Everybody in this country is going to have to pick a side. And it is going to truly be us versus them. And it's time that you start talking to your friends. You have to start talking to your friends and your family. We're all out here because we believe. We all have passion. But take that one step further, and when you go home, discuss these harder issues with your family. Discuss them with your friends. Instead of talking about love and hip-hop tonight, why don't you call your homegirl and let's talk about the rally. Let's talk about Black Lives Matter. Let's talk about all the injustices being done in this country. That's all I'm doing. Thanks, guys.
How y'all doing? I'm probably like one of the few that knows what goes on in that little Sterritt jail. You know, I know that the basic civil rights of a human being is violated every day. You know, from different levels, whether it's fatal killings or whether it's just the day-to-day just being locked up in a solitary and sit in there for a couple of months just because they don't want your family members to know how you look up in there. There is a lot of systematic issues that goes on in the Dallas County jails, and one of the things last week we went down to Austin to speak in front of the County Affairs Committee to talk about county jails after the recent Sandra Bland issue. And in these incidents, there's been less people coming and complaining about what goes on in these jails, so they're not able to reform. But I told them that once a person come out of these things in the systematic turmoil and what they have to go through in the day-to-day society, they just want to go farther away from this place than going back and hunting. The psychological mindset that you have to go through to get back out here, to come back in society, you want to come far from this place, from Frank Riley or Lou Sterritt jail. But there are some issues. But I don't care whether we white, black, blue, green, whatever. Those are issues for all of us. And we must address this because now our elected officials that we have elected, whether it's local, county, and statewide, or United States of America, they have allowed these entities to be even powerful than them. To where when they give them all of these powers, they can't even come back and give them an answer. Yet we saw the Texas Department of Public Safety director come in front of this council and this committee and basically tell them anything. Basically told them that their department is a department of color, but this is the same department that sat there and suspended an officer because he took a picture with Snoop Dogg. But these are the issues that goes on in America. And as we vote and elect our local officials, they are the ones that create these power structures that's behind us, to where when they have something go on, they don't even have to answer to them. So let alone answer to us, they don't even have to answer to the people that we have elected to be their boss. Because of these systematic issues in these police associations, whether they're state or local,